Made it 1-year penalty for inciting riots. We took the freedom of speech away because that's been through the courts, and the court said you have freedom of speech. But what has happened is when they burn a flag, it agitates and irritates crowds.
You see, this is where the danger begins when leaders start deciding what can and can't be said. And when people like Candace Owens speak up to defend free speech, they get attacked, even by their own. But the truth is, freedom of speech isn't about sides, it's about principle. Let's hear what Rowan Atkinson had to say about this.
We do not think that language or behavior that is merely insulting should ever be criminalized in this way. The clear problem with the outlawing of insult is that too many things can be interpreted as such. Criticism is easily construed as insult by certain parties. Ridicule easily construed as insult. Sarcasm, unfavorable comparison, merely stating an alternative point of view to the orthodoxy can be interpreted as insult. And because so many things can be interpreted as insult, it is hardly surprising that so many things have been, as the examples I talked about earlier show. Although the law under discussion has been on the statute book for over 25 years, it is indicative of a culture that has taken hold of the programs of successive governments, that with the reasonable and well-intentioned ambition to contain obnoxious elements in society, has created a society of an extraordinarily authoritarian and controlling nature. That is what you might call the new intolerance, a new but intense desire to gag uncomfortable voices of dissent. I am not intolerant, say many people, say many softly spoken, highly educated, liberal-minded people. I'm only intolerant of intolerance. And people tend to nod sagely and say, oh yes, wise words, wise words. And yet if you think about this supposedly inarguable statement for longer than 5 seconds, you realize that all it is advocating is the replacement of one kind of intolerance with another, which to me doesn't represent any kind of progress at all. Underlying prejudices, injustices, or resentments are not addressed by arresting people. They are addressed by the issues being aired, argued, and dealt with, preferably outside the legal process. For me, the best way to increase society's resistance to insulting or offensive speech is to allow a lot more of it. As with childhood diseases, you can better resist those germs to which you have been exposed. We need to build our immunity to taking offense so that we can deal with the issues that perfectly justified criticism can raise. Our priority should be to deal with the message, not the messenger. As President Obama said in an address to the United Nations only a month or so ago, laudable efforts to restrict speech can become a tool to silence critics or oppress minorities. The strongest weapon against hateful speech is not repression, it is more speech. And that's the essence of my thesis, more speech.
What he said carries weight. Freedom of speech is not a privilege that politicians give us, it's a right that protects us from them. It's the shield that ensures even the smallest, most unpopular voice can still be heard. Just because we support someone like Donald Trump doesn't mean we should close our eyes when he talks about limiting free speech. We cannot fight censorship from one group and then celebrate it when our side wants to use it. That's not defending freedom, that's choosing convenience. When power changes hands, and it always does, the same tools we cheer for today can be used to silence us tomorrow. That's why the laws must be crystal clear. No president, no party, no government should ever have the power to decide who speaks and who doesn't. Because the real question is this: who decides what should or shouldn't be said? Who decides what is truth and what isn't? Who decides what's offensive and what's fair? Once we hand that power to the government, freedom of speech dies, not all at once, but slowly, piece by piece, voice by voice. This is why we need people like Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and Candace Owens to keep raising their voices. Not because we must agree with everything they say, but because their right to speak is the same right that protects you and me. Freedom of speech isn't left or right, it's human. It's what allows debate, creativity, faith, protest, art, disagreement, and change to exist. Without it, we don't just silence words, we silence the soul of a free society. So no matter who is in power, Republican, Democrat, or anyone else, our loyalty should not be to politicians. It should be to principles. Because once we trade our freedom for political comfort, it's only a matter of time before we wake up in a country where we can no longer speak our minds.